it does me the great honour of welcoming all of you back, ladies and gentlemen, where you've probably noticed there's been quite a few things that have changed as of recently. Is that, unfortunately, due to some financial restraints, I've now been conduced to filming on what you might like to call the Locale Express, and we are now basically living in a completely automatous and will run forever train known as, well, as you can see right down there, the Locale Express. Fortunately, however, ladies and gentlemen, it does mean we can carry out our work as normal, but it does mean that things from this point onwards might seem a little bit strange, a little bit off kilter. And usually, whenever I come back to start doing these sorts of videos again, it's because of one of two things. And I started uploading like Chris Chan videos all the way back in 2020 was when I think I first started. Mostly because I like to, I think because of all the things that we come to know and new things that develop each and every time, even though Chris has been in incarceration, coming up to 1 full year this coming Sunday, I think the best thing for us to do is to not just remind ourselves of how we got here, but also what we could learn and what we can do differently. Because I did this round about February time last year, and here we are at the very tail end of July, and we are now getting back into this once again. Now, for those who require a fresher course, what we're doing right now, ladies and gentlemen, is we're familiaring ourselves with the sort of what really this is all about. Now, these sections of the Wikipedia is all about dedicating very specific and delicate articles based on Chris's overall character, from his interest in video games, technology, his opinions towards things like stress or his work hobbies or all that good stuff, from drugs to romance to his ideologies about the English language, all the rest of them. If he has anything to express, he's probably already made them know. So, I have literally forced myself not to talk about the impending trial or hearing or anything about how we got to any of those proceedings whatsoever, but you probably might hear something very differently in the next couple of weeks, depending whether or not any of this goes anywhere. Also, I hope you like the our flipboard up there as well. It's a nice little feature because I insisted they had to fit this into our carriage because it is a little bit dreary in here, and I had to fit the entire OBS screen. It's just sort of slanted against the seats here. I just hope that it's not too much of an inconvenience, and I'm not entirely sure if we're stuck in a cleaning depot or something like that, because those windows have been foggied up for a while now. But let's do it right now. And also, the fact that I've been reconvened to basically a window is an interesting development and a half there. So, let us begin, shall we? The purpose of this article is to provide a Metro 20-minute style summary of the life and thoughts of Christian Weston Chandler, also simply known as Chris. Chris is a 40-year-old autistic man-child who is the creator of Sonichu, a mashup of Sonic and Pikachu, since October 2007. The internet has developed a devoted interest in Chris and Sonichu. The ensuing drama have resulted in greater knowledge of Chris to such an extent that, according to animator Harry Partridge, more has been written about the life of Christian Weston Chandler than the life of George Washington. And if you think that takes effort, ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something right now. That takes effort, and he's not wrong either, because we'll... first of all, I've got to make a little bit of a detour as well. I've got to... Hello? Can anybody hear me? I've been stuck in this railway carriage for the best part of about 2 days now. All I've had for sustenance is literally pink lady apples, which have expired 4 days ago, and some out-of-date Murray mints. I have almost nothing for sustenance, and I've been in this stupid carriage for a while, but I'm not going to let it get me down too much. We'll keep going until they force us to leave. Through no fault of our own. So, As you can see right here, the contents, and this goes into quite a lot, from life, the psyche and personality, his conflicts and ideologies about society, his business acumen, or what he understands about business, because let's face it, as a business acumen, Chris's skills leave a lot to be desired. His skills, which there's a little bit more that goes into this than you might think, as opposed to this just being nothing. But, every cloud and all that. And then there's also notes. Now, I don't know technically if the notes talks about some of the essays that's been written, because that's one of the few elements we haven't technically uncovered as of yet. But I'm sure we'll find out about them in due course. So, about the Chris and series. This series aims to inform people new to the Chris Chan bubble about what makes Chris who he is today. Chris and articles do not cover specific events or time periods. They cover broad aspects of Chris's entire life. Chris and articles are moderate in length, and they are broken up into 6 categories. Psyche, articles related to Chris's mental state. Personality, articles related to Chris's character traits. Expression, articles related to the ways of Chris's expresses himself through language and the arts. Society, articles related to Chris's opinions on the world and the people living in it. Business, articles related to Chris's knowledge of business, finance, and labour. And STEM plus health, articles related to Chris's relationship with the natural sciences, including technology and health. In these fit because they extend to the people behind the quickie go-to and having to work on these things probably day and night. It's for all just one person, I think it's kind of it's fascinating. It's fascinating when you sit down and you consider just how much there really is to this guy. And again, if you're new to all of this as well, then I hope this is not going to give off the wrong impression or anything like that. So, life. And these are just very brief summaries of all these, which is what the majority of this introduction is. This is just sort of to ease people into the Chris Chan zeitgeist, the zap to the extreme geist, if you will. Life. Fashion. Chris is well known for frequently wearing the solitary medallion in public. And I tell you what, let me see if I can do it right now. Where's the it is about as crude as you could possibly imagine. But then of course there's a whole range of ones we could look into as well. Here's sort of what it looks like right now. And by the way, if I'm not entirely sure if it's a good idea, I don't recommend people going onto Etsy, because this is run by, I think, people who refer to themselves as either the Guard Dogs or several disbanded members of the Watchmen. These are final run reads, so these could be the last time these guys work on these, but yeah, most of the money will be going towards Chris in any case. So your options are very, very simple. Either pay money just so Chris can still live in luxury in prison, or don't. I would not recommend it. I mean, this is what the current state of the medallion looks like on the back, and it looks like it's absolutely being through the ringer. I'm not even sure what this is even supposed to be. I know it's meant to be like a badge or something like that. And apparently also... okay, right, that's meant to be like a true porn parody or something like that. And you also get a certificate of authenticity. I'm not entirely sure how it's even possible to do that, because that's probably going to be classed as forgery, but what can you do? And lately, this is just Chris, well, before he got into prison, just hanging random bits of shit on all over his medallion. It's about as callous as you could possibly imagine. Right, so... there we go. Chris originally wore, most of which were decorated with horizontal stripes. Since the start of the Tom Girl saga, Chris's fashion choices became increasingly peculiar, resulting in strange and hideous attires, especially when he chooses to wear My Little Pony clothing. Yeah, I'll tell you what, I'll pop that one back up as well. Because for the most part, Chris's like level of attire is considered pretty strange for the most part. I mean, this was a slightly more recent one from 2018. Red and blue and yellow was painted sneakers, which that is absolutely a thing he does. He takes a $60 pair of trainers and basically ruins them, is the best way to put it. And he also makes sure like his My Little Pony plushie, it has a Sonichu medallion. He has a tiara. She has a tiara, a headband. She looks like she's just carrying random pieces of shit around with her. And you can see what she looks like through here. And that's somebody a voice actress who does work on My Little Pony and stuff like that. I honestly don't recognize her myself. I don't really watch the show. And this is, again, what Chris sort of looked like before his transition. It's a very... but some people did want to point out that there was a character, well, a side character in My Little Pony right here who does strike a very parallel resemblance to that of Chris. It's probably means nothing, but it's something to point out. Despite spending thousands on video games and toys, Chris is very stingy when it comes to shopping for his clothes, which are usually purchased secondhand at thrift shops such as the Salvation Army and Goodwill. I'm not entirely sure if you can really call the Salvation Army a thrift shop, but I suppose if you've got to get your clothes from anywhere, you can call it whatever you like. Health. Chris, as even those with a cursory knowledge of medicine can plainly see, is not in good health. Considering his obesity, lack of exercise, poor nutrition, refusal to bathe, well, back in the day, it's a little bit different now, I hope, and the grave uncleanliness of his surroundings, he has an extremely high chance of developing potentially life-threatening medical problems such as cancer, type 2 diabetes, osteoporosis. I'm putting this into... I'm going to see how to pronounce this. Sorry about this, old guys. I want to make sure I'm doing this properly. Pronunciation. Okay. Atherosclerosis. Atherosclerosis.
Atherosclerosis.
Atherosclerosis. Okay. Type 2 diabetes, atherosclerosis, and possibly a premature death. Yeah, it's like the fact that Chris is like 40, well, nearly almost gonna be 41 this coming February. It's amazing that he hasn't developed, or he might possibly start to develop these things a lot sooner. Internet. Chris does not fully understand how to surf safely and be a good net citizen. Although he is aware that anything posted on the internet is available for everyone to see. He has no issue in giving away sensitive or potentially embarrassing information about him, such as his phone number and home address. Yeah, kids, trust me, don't do that. And his tendency to soil himself. Again, you don't ever tell people, even if it's, there's personal information, and then there's shit you just do not say. You know what I mean? Chris is also not aware how to properly communicate in private, and he rarely follows the established rules of the websites. When he was given his own website, he audaciously claimed that he controlled the site, and not the sysop and the advertisers. Chris has also been banned from websites like Flipnote Hatina in 2010 and Etsy in 2016. Yeah, exactly. That was what I was showing you earlier, is that those were made by the medallions and sold by different people. So that helps to explain that. The media. Throughout most of his life, Chris has been featured in the media, being the subject of journalism and paparazzi, whether he's aware of it or not. His life is literally documented on the internet on sites like yours truly, The Kiwi Farms, and Encyclopedia Dramatica. The reason for this is due to his own stupidity to openly admit and display his most embarrassing moments at the most inopportune times. Sometimes people will learn more about Chris's life by interviewing him, or we will flat out do something so embarrassing people can't help but share it with someone else. The most recent example I could probably think of was when Chris was doing... actually, you know, again, I'll show you guys exactly what it is. Where is the Chris Shannon Count Dankula interview? I don't even know if... like, I mean, yes, but I want to show you guys something very specific. I wonder if it'll be listed down here, but let's see. Many of the comments down here have probably given the idea about all this, but whatever. Okay, so
With got to be.
Gotta go through ads. I think it... I'm not entirely sure exactly how far into the interview it might be, but well, actually, here it is. It might be this part.
Was it British? Scots are we're an interesting people. You know, we've got ginger hair and bad tempers. That's usually what makes you Scottish.
People are colourful like that.
Oh, here it is.
More of these. My crest behind down my chest. That's this shape.
Yeah. So is it a case of that sort of makes sure that if anybody else goes to Quickville, they can't.
Oh well, okay, okay. I'll do it like this. The one clip I was trying to find for you guys is the one where Chris openly admits that Bundy Chew, which is yes, that is named after the infamous serial killer and necrophiliac Ted Bundy, and how Chris, this person here, believes that not only he was framed and that he was completely innocent, but now he is reincarnated as a Sonichu and now works with his dad, Robert Sonichu. And that alone just about says... I mean, Count Dankula himself does the absolute best to like put a straight face on it and try to not believe what he's just heard. But there is also this. Now, I think this... If you're just hearing about this woman... I'm calling her a woman in this sense because... this is, post-transition, so that seems more appropriate. So, anyway, just listen to what Chris has to say here. I think we might learn a lot today.
Physical medallion, but more the my crest behind down my chest. That's this shape.
Yeah. So is it a case of that sort of makes sure that if anybody else goes to Quickville, they can't transform into Sonichu, only you can?
It's a very select few. My father was half Sonichu.
Your father was half Sonichu as well?
Mr. C is, yes.
Man, what about Barb, your mother?
No, she's not.
I like
she's not, she's just 100% human.
Yeah.
Barb is
like but your father was half Sonichu as well.
Yep.
Is there anybody else in this dimension who's half Sonichu that you know of?
Those that were born in this dimension, there were only 3 of us that were half Sonichu. That's me, my father, and Ted Bundy.
Ted Bundy?
Yep, here it is.
Yeah.
The serial killer?
Mistaken for a serial killer, but he was not.
Well, the Ted Bundy that was put on trial and stuff?
Yes, it was Wikipedia page reads. That was not, but he was clear, he was framed. That was a whole bunch of mistake in there. He was actually working undercover at the time.
Right. So Ted Bundy, the guy who was, well, as you say, falsely put on trial for being a serial killer.
Yeah.
He was half Sonichu.
Yep.
So did him being falsely put on trial have anything to do with the fact he was half Sonichu? Or was that just unfortunate circumstance?
It was just an unfortunate circumstance. Oh, but there were circumstances.
Right.
Right, indeed. Yeah, guys, listen. I would say, if you're just on that alone, Don't ever believe anything you hear, but I will say this. Chris not only believes that, but preaches that shit. You could see on Count Dankula's face, he could not believe what he was hearing. And to be honest, neither can I. And I'm pretty numb to all this right now, which is, again, something I'm going to have to work on, because I have to understand I have to be in that sort of, that special space and time to understand how I can comprehend. Not that I can understand what his logic is, the idea, guys, is one thing, but the fact that he believes that, yeah, that's the sort of person you've got to be dealing with, and that's like, oh man, that's not even really the tip of the iceberg, to be honest. Anyway, the reason for this is due to his own stupidity and openly admit his most embarrassing moments at the most inopportune of times. Sometimes people will learn more about Chris's interviewing him, or he will flat out do something so embarrassing people can't help but share it with someone else. Yeah, that's sadly the case. Sex. Speaking of unfortunate, Chris has a warped view of sexual intercourse, aka hanky-panky, as well as gender mostly stemming from stunned sexual development. He probably watched High Guardian Spice. He a sheltered upbringing and the twisted, disjointed worldview he acquired as a result. His first developed an understanding of sex from watching softcore porn on HBO at around age 16. He describes pornographic films as educational. I would like to imagine right now, knowing about, well, certainly about the British educational system when it comes to sex education, I would like to imagine that in the US it's not too different, I believe. But I'd imagine that Chris must have had some, sexual education in some way or capacity. That's all I'm going to say about that. Television. Chris binges television, and his taste veers into satirical shows like South Park, Family Guy, Beavis and Butthead, and Drawn Together, the parody in which he does not understand. I don't really want to either. That show's an absolute... That's a car crash on fire. He also enjoys media from his parents' generation, such as Monty Python, and references from the shows he watches are awkwardly shoved into Solitude comics. That is true. Solitude is an absolute hodgepodge of unoriginality and references that some die-hard Monty Python fans would be sort of like, oh great, we're doing this now. Yeah. And I know Monty Python quite well and stuff like that. Rest in peace to the late great Terry Jones. Video games. Chris heavily invests both his money and the time into video games, and became obsessed with Sonic from an early age. Yeah, I can say that. One could say that video games are a major contributing factor to his current situation, seeing as one of Lewis from Trolls was Sonichu, a creation which liberally takes from two popular video game franchise characters. Work. This really should only be like one or two sentences, but no, it isn't. Chris has only had 2 real jobs in his life. His combined tenure at both adds up to less than a year. And considering I've just spent over 2 years at my job, and my work history extends to 3 whole years now at this point, that's not good. It's not. In fact, you know what? I'd say almost 3.5 years. So Chris, you're not looking good there, pal. Because of his infamy, but mostly a lack of trying, self-sabotage, call it what you will, Chris has not applied for a job in over a decade, and instead chooses to live off social security checks. Psyche or personality. Anger. Chris has anger management issues that usually surface when he is under stress. Trolls refer to Chris's fits as a rage of tarred rage, an expression normally used to describe the seemingly superhuman strength a normally mild-tempered, slow-in-the-mind displays when he or she is pushed too far and goes on an anger-fueled rampage, although in Chris's case, superhuman and strength can easily be replaced with impotent and bawling. ego. Chris has a massive sense of entitlement, mostly because his parents taught him to blame other people for all of his troubles. That gives you some sort of sense exactly to what his parents were like as well. Not that I thought Bob was a really a bad person, to be honest, but Bob absolutely is. But what on earth were you thinking of when you teach your son stuff like this? Chris sees himself as superior above everyone else, and considers anyone who challenges his egocentrism as a potential enemy. The Sonichu comics also reflect Chris's egocentrism, with the self-insert effectively being a Marty Stew attempts have been made to entice Chris to bring his ego under control, with little success. Despite how gullible Chris is, you'd imagine that's almost impossible. Hypocrisy. Hypocrisy is the act of claiming to have beliefs, opinions, virtues, feelings, qualities, or standards that one does not actually have. Chris is an accomplished hypocrite, holding others to standards to which he himself does not live up. This is possibly due to the fact that he's incapable of serious introspection and self-examination, due to his autism, but on a more self-inflicted level, his ego. Chris believes that he is a blameless, holy creature that is practically perfect in every way. However, he sees plenty of flaws in the world around him that cause him stress. He blames all of his problems on external factors like trolls, homos, his words not mine, conspiracies, or the entire male population. Again, he probably watched High Guardian Spice before the rest of us. In the past, he's faulted the police, store managers, and more security guards for complications during his love quest. When Chris can't fault other people for his problems, he relies on autism and stress as fallback excuses. These excuses go about as well as you might imagine. Kindness. A lot of people that know a bit about Chris's failures label him as an irredeemable monster, due to his more malicious fails. Others view him as a naive but good-natured idiot that doesn't deserve to be trolled. Well, at least before 2010. In reality, Chris's morality and standards are much more complicated. Despite all of his moments of rage, death threats, lies, and yuck, Chris does have a soft side, and he is not afraid to show it off. Due to Chris's willingness to show how benevolent he is, and possibly due to what he's watched on My Little Pony, Chris will be motivated to act kind towards most other people, even towards complete strangers. Now, again, that's a very interesting one to get to, because it's very, very strange. I generally think that Chris is actually, deep down, I think he is a good person, but the problem is that it's not for me to say that. It should be for, well, it kind of is a little bit for other people to say that. But Chris maybe also might want to try and say it to himself and sort of ask himself, well, what does make a good person? And once he looks himself in the mirror and then, you know, if only, guys. It's a big if only in Chris's sort of like his story. Right, okay, moving on. Knowledge. Chris's presence on the honor roll in high school is something he often brings up as evidence of his intelligence and his deep knowledge, despite his insistence to the contrary. Chris's past behavior and obvious gullibility, poor communication, and self-delusion cast a doubt upon this claim. Chris likes to boast of his honor roll status whenever possible, as it is one of the most easily measurable accomplishments in his entire life. You know what? One of my big ones was, you see that up there? That is my animation degree. It's far from the biggest accomplishment in my life. I can think of a lot of other things I'm really proud to have done. One of the most recent is that I'm now got 3 whole channels that I run all by myself, over 1,000 subscribers each. And that's quite impressive as far as I'm concerned, because, well, if I could get to 1,000 for each of them, I could get them up to 2,000. If I put in the effort and keep working, I could get all of my channels above the 1,000 subscriber fresh mark. That might not sound like much, but it's one of the harder obstacles to get over. Nostalgia. As a person who faces an unfulfilling existence, Chris tries to live in the past and cherishes his childhood as well as the media which impacted it. Psychology. Chris has a troubled relationship with psychology. He claims that he was held down by the school psychologist in grade school while his screams were recorded, almost certainly a lie, and was forced to see a psychologist for anger management classes after being kicked out of Piedmont, Virginia Community College. Chris has refused to see a psychologist in the past, opting to see a pastoral counselor instead. However, during his trial in July of 2012, he was ordered to undergo psychiatric treatment and evaluation. 10 years on can only suggest exactly how well that's worked. Only time will tell if this will finally force Chris to accept the help he needs, or ultimately accomplish nothing more than draining what little remains of the Chandler's already depleted funds. Considering what Chris did just before he got arrested, I like to say it's almost exactly whatever the hell they had left anyway. Reality. Chris already had a poor grip on reality when the internet first discovered him. Many people on the autism spectrum, myself included, do struggle to distinguish between reality and fantasy. But Chris has done nothing to minimize his impact, instead embracing his realm of fantasy as a way to escape from anything he does not like. Notably, Chris believes that Quickville and his characters are real. He had the power to curse anyone, and that anything bad that happened to him was a conspiracy. Since 2017, Chris's grip on reality weakened further with his belief that the dimensional merge would happen, and that the alleged merge would make him rich and bringing his fictional characters to life. In short, it's his own little depiction of heaven. It's his little slice of heaven. Which will make Chris very disappointed when he finds out that, all that glitters is not gold. All zapping. Remorse. Every so often, one of Chris's less flattering deeds catches up with him, and he is forced to apologize. These apologies, like most of the other times Chris tries to come off as emotional, often feel very forced and insincere. That's true, leading many trolls to wonder if Chris is even capable of feeling remorse. I'd say in some of those cases, no, because Chris, first, what you've got to do is that you've got to sort of understand for yourself exactly where you went wrong and then work its way up from there. Like, you've got to understand exactly why, and Chris kind of doesn't feel things he can't feel because he doesn't have any idea about why he's been put in the blame. Stress. Stress is Chris's favourite excuse for his laziness. Given the fact that none of Chris's coping methods are useful, stress is a constant plague on his life. Considering how pretty easy Chris's life is in the grand scheme of things, that's kind of a slap in the face to those who, like I said before, go out to work and have worked far more probably in the last month than Chris probably has ever done throughout his entire adult life. Sad, really, but, it's true. Death. Death is a concept that Chris has a notably hard time understanding and or coping with, be it the death of a human, or an animal, or even a fictional character. The fact that that is even a thing you could even think about compared to, these two, that's how much weight that things like that hold on him. Gender. Similar to the topic of faith and the topic of morality, Chris's actual beliefs on gender and how it is classified are more complex than his stated beliefs. For someone so preoccupied with gender identity, Chris displays a staggering ignorance on how either gender typically behaves, and his view on both genders are extremely warped to him, taking the stereotypes he is presented with in television and music at face value. Law. Chris has demonstrated little respect for the law in the past, in a similar way to sovereign citizen and freeman movements, and considered himself to be above the law, as reflected in the Solitude comics. Chris has 6 misdemeanors, 3 from hitting Michael Slider with his car in 2011, 1 from macing a GameStop employee in 2014, and 2 from failing to acquire tags and licenses for his dogs in 2016. Another misdemeanor involving an attempt to enter Charlottesville Fashion Square after being banned in 2012 expired after completing the therapeutic docket program in April 2019. Considering the case against about his mother, he's only had one hearing in the last 24 hours, and that's just to say of him to go to a grand jury. It can't be a misdemeanor because they haven't technically charged him with anything yet, so we'll get there. That's going to need some processing itself. Politics. In recent years, Chris has been quite vocal about his political views. He was once a moderate and then shifted left during the Tom Girl saga. He shifted further left. His progressing support of the LGBT may have been why he has been more vocal about politics. However, yet again, if Chris was even so much as consciously aware about why he's even interested in politics, it would be a massive wake-up call to show that Chris, like with everything else, doesn't know what the hell he's talking about. Race. Race is a thing that Chris has shown a variety of feelings for. Unfortunately, they are not always in a positive light. It is believed by some that Chris's racist tendencies can be traced at least partially to his southern US heritage. However, certain other factors seem to imply that the rest of his worldview on race comes from stereotypes depicted by popular culture. In some cases, however, Chris seems to be completely unfamiliar with even the stereotypes. You want me to pull another one out the hat? Yeah, I'll do it right now. Yeah, I'm sorry about this. We're sitting through this as well.
Hello.
I don't give a fuck.
Are your glasses for a genie? Mr. Popo.
And then it just sticks on Crash Test
I
Dummies.
tell you a story. It is a good story.
Thank
You
you,
will enjoy story.
Yeah. And I can't even put the subtitles on.
Once there was this boy who was born with some autism and yet made a few friends, but after his high school years, he lost his friends and was so tortured by bullies who were jealous of his material.
Well, I think you get the idea, but it gets even more moronic, like this.
And their own boy and girl. It's true.
Do you think at any point during this, Chris
It's a
actually
marriage invitation.
wondered why he was doing this? It was just for sex, by the way. That's the only reason Chris is doing this, but just this next part. I mean, just, what do you say to this? Wait for it.
Ain't no sayings of the fiddle. No sayings of the fiddle like this. Ain't no sayings of the fiddle. No sayings of the fiddle like this. A song yo day wah wah. Ho ho hey ya ho. A song yo day wah wah. Ho ho hey ya ho. Ain't no sayings of the fiddle. No sayings of the fiddle like this. Ain't no sayings of the fiddle. No sayings of the fiddle like this. A song yo day wah wah. Ho ho hey ya ho. A song yo day wah wah. Ho ho hey ya ho.
I've said it before, and I'll say it again. Good on Chris Chan for really, going out of his way for, doing whatever the hell that was. Because that video demonstrates very, very clearly how much he prioritizes really losing his virginity to Jackie. Certainly more than he favors his own dignity. Religion. The religion of Christian Weston Chandler is a complicated topic because his stated religious convictions often starkly differ from his actual peculiar beliefs about God, sinfulness, and the nature of good and evil. That Chris professes a belief in Christianity completes the general stereotype of the naive hillbilly idiot who thinks that citing divine authority is the way to win arguments about things he doesn't understand. With religion, as well as with all things, Chris only hears what he wants to hear. For example, He long espoused his religious teachings, condemning homosexuality, yet ignores the fact that he also forbids premarital sex, pornography, and gluttony. Exactly, you know what? I wondered if anybody really did mention all these things. Well, technically they did, about Alec Benson. They were bringing up, things about, like, black magic and stuff like that. And Chris trying to curse people with the Curse Yamaha. But not that Chris seemed fathomed or shocked or astounded or stunned by stuff like that. Sexuality. Up until 2011, Chris adamantly stayed on the straight path and feared any deviance into homosexuality. He became a transgender male-to-female lesbian in 2014. Chris continued to be exclusively attracted to females up until the Idea guys brainwashed him into being bisexual, which is Chris still claims to be, for this day, to be bisexual. Whether or not he really thinks he is, or whether he has any idea, or that's the only way he could be open himself up to any sex at all, male or female, will simply remain a mystery till the end of time. Socialization. Chris's social skills are impaired by his autism. For Chris, there is no line between acceptable topics of discussion and personal information that should probably not be shared with acquaintances. What is this? Honest content. Yeah, that gives you an idea. The world. Chris has lived all his life in Virginia, only leaving the state to visit other parts of the United States on a few brief occasions. To date, Chris has never travelled abroad, and his financial management making travelling abroad as challenging as conquering the Machu Picchu. The Machu Picchu. Oh, right, it's Pachoa Valley. In Husa Valley. Administrated by in what was this? In Ladakh, India. Looks really pretty. What do you guys think? I think it looks really pretty. Business. Chris may misinterpret advertising as evidence of a product's popularity, rather than a way to attract new customers. When combined with his fear of change, Chris has developed strong loyalty towards certain products, such as the PlayStation 3, and deep hatred for its rivals, such as the Xbox 360. Elements of his style of brand loyalty extends to areas that would not normally be considered brands, such as mental disabilities, I'm not joking, and sexual orientations. The fact that that is even such a thing doesn't surprise me, but the fact that, it's the way Chris does it as well is what really astounds me, is that he puts so much of his weight into it. Censorship. Chris is very insecure about others' opinions regarding him and his work, due to his massive ego. This has resulted in Chris ruthlessly censoring out anything that he does not like, such as people telling him to get a job. However, his views on censorship remain very inconsistent. For example, Chris does not like swearing, even though he uses it against his enemies. I mean, what else can you? What more do you know about? What else can you say to that? Copyright. Chris's misunderstanding of copyright law is best represented by his belief that Sonichu and Rosechu are parodies. No, they are not. Neither does Chris actually really believe that. He just says that just so he can get off the hook. Despite being a derivative of Sonic and Amy Rose, both copyrighted by Sega, and Pikachu and Raichu, copyrighted by the Pokemon Company, despite being very protective of his characters, going as far as to encourage readers to report copyright infringement to the police, he continues to plagiarize many works himself, and freely use fan art without giving credit to the original artist. I'd say that would be on pretty strong grounds to sue Chris anyway, but what can you do? Money and business. Chris's parents never taught him financial responsibility, resulting in Chris having no idea on how to manage his own finances. Chris notably refuses to get a job, because his parents believe that Chris would be better off as a benefits scrounger. While an online business based on selling arts and crafts is not a bad alternative to a job, Chris struggled to fulfill orders from Etsy to the point of being banned, and pledges from Patreon. That's true. Well, with that being said, it took until like last year for Chris to finally get banned from Patreon, and then again, Chris like nearly spent 2 whole years of actually not delivering any commissions. Think about that. Barbara and Chris's ego-driven, excessive, impulsive spending, combined with their unwillingness to save even the smallest amount of money from anything, has resulted in serious financial trouble since February 2016. The Chandlers owe at least $160,000 to creditors as of January 2019, but Chris has paid scant attention to the mountain of debt, believing that the so-called dimensional merge would make him extremely wealthy. Spoilers, it doesn't. The only time Chris is ever going to be considered wealthy is when all of his artwork is like auctioned off on like local bargaining sites, like a Kiwi Farms market. Maybe that's what they should do. They'll go straight to the Kiwi Farms market so they can auction it off themselves. Negotiation. When dealing with Chris, trolls often experience a unique form of negotiation. Due to a severe sense of entitlement, a lifetime of coddling and other factors beyond his control, Chris has no grasp on how to compromise, and often fails to understand what sort of bargaining position he's in. In short, not very much. Skills. Art. Chris's artwork plays a major role in the internet's devoted interest in his life, but his choice of art materials do not progress well, if ever. Despite extensive education in the visual arts, he uses printer paper, Pentel RSVP ballpoint pens, and a 50-pack of Crayola Super Tip markers to produce most of his artwork, including the Sonichu comics. Chris is so devoted to the aforementioned art materials that he hesitates to try potentially better methods to create his artwork, such as ink-based drawing pens, drawing and sketching paper, watercolors, and modern technology such as a Wacom tablet, Adobe Illustrator, and Adobe Photoshop. I use all of those in full. I actually use an XP Pen Artist 13.3 Pro tablet, as a matter of fact. Until Sonichu 12, Chris's font of choice was Comic Sans, as you might probably guess. A font widely criticized for being overused, childish, and ugly. In Sonichu 12-9, Chris's main font changed to Proxima Nova, but his handwriting dominated the awakening of the CPU, originally known as Sonichu 16. Cinematography. Chris's cinematography and photography at large skills have improved from the days when he regularly abused his camera by throwing shit at it and then punching it. Problems with color, focus, framing, lighting, orientation, and post-production continue to appear, but the impact of the problems on some recent videos and photos are now more in line with most people. I mean, you only need to take a look technically at the way this is all lined up, and yes, there are some things I probably will have to like change, because this is mostly just trying stuff out more than anything, but I'm kind of glad that it's at least in some level like getting geared to what I used to do. Contests. Ever since the early 1990s, Chris has entered a number of contests. Chris places great weight on his success and failure with regards to promotional contests. He becomes elated and sees victory as an indication of his own greatness when he wins, yet he becomes enraged and lashes out at the winners whenever he loses. Sometimes more than not. Cosplaying. Cosplay, short for costume play, is a type of performance art in which a person dresses up as a character or idea. The practice is commonly seen in the anime fandom, but can also be seen in other fan realms, such as the video games and Star Trek. Chris was first seen in cosplay attire with the famous Ash Ketchum costume. Any attempts at cosplay are usually rare. However, a major wave of cosplaying by Chris, presumably to impress and amuse Jackie, appeared in late 2010, a la the Mr. Popo video of whatever the hell that was meant to be. English. Chris's English skills, like most other things he believes he's mastered, leave much to be desired. Much of this can be attributed to his autism, which often results in awkward speech patterns. He spent years of his childhood mute and took speech therapy classes at James Madison University. Chris's grasp on English appears to be deteriorated as he's become older, presumably due to his increased isolation. That's, as well, and Chris is almost entirely, like, visually stimulated by, machines and stuff like that anyway, so I don't even know if he's ever really devoted any of this time to try this stuff out. Mathematics. Mathematics, math or maths for short, is the study of quantity, numbers, space, and change. Calling Chris's mathematical ability bad is putting it lightly, even though he claimed honor roll status. There are many examples of his mathematical errors, including errors of basic arithmetic, as well as quantity, measurement, weight, and time. His poor grasp on math and measurement is a sign of dyscalculia, a common symptom of autism. Music. Chris's taste in music is not unconventional. Many people have been interested in multiple genres and decades, from the 1970s hard rock to 2010's dubstep, and is also common to develop interest in songs from their parents, music collection, as well as from video games, film, television, and radio. However, what sets Chris apart from other music fans is his belief that a Guitar Hero controller is a real instrument, as well as his overstatement of his singing ability and music recording methods. We've seen a few of those already, and let's just put it like this: Sonichu and the Hedgehog Boys is not going to be featured in GQ or Rolling Stone anytime soon. A pity, but that's to be expected. Oration. Whenever Chris wants to make an argument regarding his opinions or his childlike mindset, one way he'll attempt to move people is through orating, his reasoning onto them. Since Chris lacks some of the basic skills needed to make an effective speech, rarely ever plans out anything he makes, has serious communicational problems, and never does research, his speech is always turn out lackluster at best and horrifying naive at worst. You can take a guess under which one of those he really falls under. Spanish. Chris uses Spanish a surprising amount in his work for someone without a solid grasp on the language. He has taken at least 4 semesters of Spanish in high school, but has not developed his fluency since. Or even bothers using him post 2013 or something like that. Or even 2011, to be honest. Writing. Chris lacks understanding of how to write narratives, and butchers even the most basic literary common sense. Chris's trademark style of jamming himself and his personal life into a fictional world alongside his characters regularly leads to self-serving power fantasies. And that is technically really where we are at right now, if in terms of like all of this, going from like, alphabetical order. And we will sort of do this from beginning to end, from body way all the way down to technology. So this is going to be a very long-standing series of videos you can see coming up as we update our videos for a 2022 audience. And we'll see exactly where this all goes, because this does get updated very regularly, so there could be stuff that we might have to go back to. It depends, and I'll probably go back and make sure to change certain features about what we're doing right now. But that is going to do it for our introduction, our first real comeback to Chris Chan sort of related videos. Make sure also, if there's also people you want me to check out as well, I'm very, very open to ideas, suggestions, you name it, and I'll see what I can do. And I hope all of you have enjoyed our first day on the Lowcow Express. Please make sure to leave all of your thoughts and comments in the comment section down below. Let me know what you thought of our introductions, as well as what you could be looking forward to in the weeks to come. Also, if you want to contribute to this channel in any which way, you can also check out my other YouTube channels, and you can also visit my Patreon, which will all be in the description down below. I hope we can find something that will entertain all of you guys. And until then, I wish all of you a very, very good afternoon. Take care, and bye-bye for now.